This is episode 602, Carrot and Stick. I'm Peter Gould, co-creator and showrunner.
And I am Vince Gilligan, and I was lucky enough to get to direct this episode.
I'm Ariel Levine. I co-wrote this episode with Tom Schnauz.
I am Julianne Emery, and I play Betsy Kettleman, because I'm a lucky duck.
Yes, Julianne. I love having Julianne here.
Oh, but yes. I would like to talk about this actress right now.
Yes, Poppy
Lou.
She is amazing. She and Katarina Tannenbaum did a beautiful job.
They were so fun to work with here. They are so funny, these two.
It was amazing.
And also 150% committed.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
All in.
And what a bummer it was you couldn't be on the set for this.
Yeah.
And simply because of COVID. It was because we would love to have had you, obviously, Ariel. We would love to have had you. We would love to have had Tom.
I would love to have been there, but the episode was in good hands.
Well, I don't know about that. But, well, no, I just didn't get in the way here of these ladies. They were so funny.
Did that just happen on her foot?
Yeah,
was it on purpose?
Set it up,
okay.
Yeah, I think I said, how do we get it to stick to her foot? And then she just said, let me try it. And it just kind of did.
Brilliant.
Wow. Acting.
Acting. Foot acting.
That's some excellent foot acting.
And this whole scene is fortuitous because the previous season we actually had a scene where Lalo kicked these two young women out of their apartment, and it was deleted out of one of Tom's episodes.
Oh.
So we got to do it again. So if you look at the extras on season 5, you'll actually see a different version of this scene where Lalo threatens these two and gets them out of here.
I sound like. Not, like the absentee, the guy walking out of the mailbox picking up the check in his bathroom.
Not at all.
I didn't even know that. I seriously did not even know that.
Well, there
I never
you
even
go.
saw that scene.
There you go.
Wow.
Well,
jeez.
You're going to like it someplace else.
Why is this old bastard kicking them out of their house?
He must have his reasons.
Ariel, did you guys realize when you wrote this scene that these two, the energy of the two ladies was going to be super high, and then Jonathan Banks is going to come in and be like, everybody calm down.
When I feel like anyone is, high energy compared to Banks, he's got this excellent, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.
Yeah. He trusts the camera. He trusts the moment in the camera to come to him more than any actor I've ever known. Mm-hmm. But the opposition is really great.
That's a good point. He does. He trusts I had to say that again. He
trusts the moment and the camera to come to him more than any actor I've ever known. He doesn't push, like even in the wide, he doesn't get bigger. In the 2-shot, he doesn't care. He's like, he just sits in it.
Yeah.
He almost demands the camera come to him, right?
That is so well put. Yeah. Oh man, this is going to be, I can tell already, this is going to be a good commentary. I'm going to learn a lot about acting. I'm being funny, but I'm not.
Pretty nerdy comment, but yeah.
I'm being funny, but I'm not. That's a great observation. Well, he's been doing it a long time. He's been doing it, as he constantly reminds me, since the year I was born. So
is
that true?
67.
Wow.
One of the things that's interesting about him too is that he makes it look effortless. But
the
one time when I've seen him really work. Not the one time, but the thing I always see him work very carefully on is props. He wants to know exactly how the props are going to feel. He wants every move to be thought through. So he will rehearse with the props quite a bit before the scene, just because he never wants Mike to look like he's fumbling. I remember that on Breaking Bad, he had to count out money, and he insisted on having basically the whole setup a couple of days ahead,
right?
And so that he could be sure that he was counting money exactly the right way. And you can see it's very precise.
Yeah. Well, and it's the real pros make it look easy, but it's not necessarily always easy. They just make it look easy. Yeah. Speaking of props, Eric Steinig is who was started off in Breaking Bad as one of our grips. And he has he was a Marine recon sniper in real life. Eric is a real deal.
Wow.
He's a great guy, and he's a very good actor. And he is operating that, because you'll see him later in the episode, he's behind the rifle as a sniper. But this is a very interesting thing. It's an electromagnet, and the drill sticks onto the steel, and then you drill sideways.
It makes me think of the Michael Mann movie Thief.
Yes.
Whenever I see that.
Yes.
Did you have extra doors? How did you do
We did.
that?
We had extra doors. And actually, all he's really drilling through is the plastic dial, which goes through the plastic like butter. So I don't know that we were drilling. I guess we were drilling steel because all the steel shavings. But the big secret is that safes like this, and actually most safes, are not that hard to break into if you have the right tools. So hooray for that.
Hot tip from Vince Gilligan.
Yeah. This shot, I gotta give a shout out to Paul Donahue. This was Paul's shot. This shot, he talked about it in pre-production, and we shot it. It's one of my favorite shots in the episode. I had nothing to do with it. I was off eating a sandwich.
Well, speaking of Paul, we've worked with him for a long time as a camera operator.
Yes.
You worked with him at El Camino as a camera operator, but I think this was your first time working with him as a cinematographer. Is that right?
Yes, you're right. You're
Wow.
right. And he's the real deal.
Well,
I mean,
even just the dominoes in the very beginning were impressive.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I'd forgotten. Yes, they are. The shots.
No, that shot is so cool.
It's a cool shot. And man, the prop, Mark Hansen and his wonderful prop department, our prop master Mark, that was such a pain in the ass. Those dominoes, they came up with a jig that you could load dominoes into, and Maddie in the prop department, and gosh, I'm drawing a blank. But all the folks in the prop department, had to figure out how to reset this because we did a bunch of takes. It was a big pain in the butt, I can tell you. Again, not for me. I was off eating a sandwich, but wake me when we're ready, and I'll yell action. And it was great seeing Victor Jeremiah Bitsui.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just to circle back to Paul, he's been our camera operator for many a season. He shot one episode last season, and now we did something different this season, which was the alternated DPs for the first time in the history of either show. So Marshall Adams is doing the odds, and Paul Donahue is doing the evens. And it changed things a lot, at least from my point of view. It changed things a lot because they were able to prep with their directors, and just because the season's so ambitious, I thought it was a good innovation.
It was I think it was your idea, wasn't it? It was a great idea.
Well, I wanted to see. I love them both, and I wanted them both on the show.
And you love them both, and you wanted to put them in a pit match, fight to the death.
Well, my God, they both did such fantastic work, and here's this looks familiar. This shot. What am I thinking of when I saw this shot?
Thinking of the beginning of the movie The Godfather, and
backstory is just a placeholder. I'm going to polish this.
So what was because this was something that was talked about in the room, Ariel, right?
It was, yeah. Whenever, a lot of times when we're breaking a scene, we say, okay, what's the way in? What's the first shot? What's the first thing we see? And we went with the Godfather. We wanted to kind of hide what he's talking about a little bit. So, wait, what's this monologue he's doing? What are we doing? And then we kind of widen out. Oh, here's Kim eating cereal. Oh, he's doing a bit. They're prepping.
Well, sure, but then he takes the case.
And so written. So I didn't. This was, the visual reference to The Godfather, as you said, made up in the room, in the writers' room, and so not like a director's invention on the set. And beautifully executed. It was a very tricky shot. It took 7 or 8 takes to get it perfect. Beautifully executed by Matt Cradle, our A camera operator, and his crew.
I've got a brother-in-law, and he's got a pretty nasty coke habit. Very similar energy.
So, Julianne, obviously you're not in this scene, but when you're
I'm watching Ray and Bob work so beautifully together, and
like that pullback. She has to stick her head in with her bowl of cereal and take a bite right at that exact moment. So stuff like that, when you're doing that as an actor, does it get in the way of acting, or does it feel very mechanical? And boy, I hate doing this, and I wish I could just be more in the moment. Or do you have two different brains?
I think every actor would have probably a different answer to that. Like I like once I can find it physically, I really like to physically match. I really like, it feels, I started in theater, so it feels that the repetition builds as part of my emotional life or my inner life. But some people have to go kind of one way or the other.
Okay.
I mean, I never want to let camera down.
Okay.
So I try really hard
Okay.
to be exactly where they want you to be. But like Ray just now, she had to put her face in, but like that's just, there's no mark in space, right?
Right.
There's a mark on the floor maybe for your foot.
Yeah.
But then they're like, lean on your right, lean on your left, lean forward. Like there's a certain amount of it that's just kind of feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think everybody would have a different answer. to
Okay.
that.
I like your answer though. I like that there is a pride in nailing it.
Well, you were talking about Jonathan working with props.
Yeah.
I think it can be an emotional life or psychological life in props, and in I pick up my cup here and I do that. You can connect it to everything.
Okay.
On your good days, you can connect it to everything. On your bad days, maybe
But it doesn't necessarily get in the way of, okay, I am this person now. I'm not Julianne. I'm Betsy Kettleman, and I'm mad at my husband, and I'm even madder.
And Betsy touches her cup like this and holds her pen like this, and just everything can be Betsy, right? But I like to go to my character. I like to. But some people really hate their marks. Some actors really hate having a mark. Some actors like want to feel freedom inside of that. I don't know. I like behavior. I like to find all of.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
How great is this guy? I'm sorry, I missed talking about, but I was fascinated talking about that. But
business too. And Giancarlo is very specific.
Yes.
How he picks up the phone, how he holds his
Very
phone.
precise.
Like so, like
yeah,
all of that business. I like business.
Yeah.
I like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
He does so much with so little. Like such
Yes.
little movement, such little,
Yes.
just like the slightest change and like,
But then
his
that
mouth or his,
becomes the
his
behavior,
eye.
right?
Yeah.
Like that minimalism becomes the behavior for his character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
fascinating.
interesting.
good point. Good
Where'd you
point.
get that truck?
This, Dennis Milliken and his crew of brilliant the folks, the Teamsters who run our transportation department. They have such an eye for these things, and they have found these amazing vehicles. And
So the whole social media universe lit up right at this moment. I mean, and it lit up hard.
and that's You want to talk about that, Peter? Like we went back and forth. Should we use the real one or should we use a different one?
Well,
the inflatable.
we decided to use the real one.
Oh, there she is.
Yes.
Hey.
the episode has begun.
Yes.
There we go.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's just, here we go. This is you went to a
It's
precision.
easier to see how big that Statue of Liberty is on the ground somehow. Like when it's up on the building, you just think.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't see all of it.
I think we originally wanted to put it on top of the trailer, and it just didn't fit.
And Willard runs above is so good. I love his face. He's got the most wonderful face.
Yes.
He was a sweet
really
fellow,
does.
wasn't he?
He was lovely, yeah.
Lovely.
He looks sweet, and he just has a gentle quality to him that just. Boy, I'm
I
kind
know,
of
and
peeved
Betsy's
at
just
Betsy.
taking advantage of him. And Betsy's just
ripping
running
him
that.
off.
She's just
Ripping
taking all that sweetness and running with it.
Yeah, this whole tax scam was inspired a little bit by something that happened to my wife, where she found that somebody else had filed a return for her and gotten her refund.
Really?
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we said
Really?
you do. You just have forgotten. It's been so long since we were
Did
in the
I
room.
know that?
We talked about it a little
And
bit.
so we.
Great having a faulty memory because light every day is a new adventure.
Experiences,
Are we seriously talking about that?
Yes. Yeah. So that was one of the things that gave us the thought about what these two could be up to.
Oh, I'm sorry for Nora. That's a bummer.
And we wanted Betsy and we wanted the Kettles back so badly every season, but we thought she's never going to want anything to do with Saul.
Right.
Why on earth would she have anything to do with Saul?
So how do we get him back?
And so that was the great challenge here. And oh my, Jeremy.
Jeremy is so cute. Didn't you see his little head pop up? He's just so sweet and so cute.
And by the way, there's only about 3.5 feet of room back there. Not nearly enough room for 3 people.
No, everybody was crouching back there.
Okay, I got a question,
These
Julianne.
people, they're so cute.
Excuse us for a second. We have a little tax emergency.
That was unscripted and one of my favorite lines in the episode. So great.
I loved being able to go behind this thing. It was fun to say, hey, don't paint the back. Make this and make sure the wheels are still on so these people can split at any minute.
Well, that's such a great touch.
I love the what do you call that? Cloisonne?
The little brooch.
Brooch.
Brought it up. I came here today because I was curious if you.
Okay, I got a question, Julianne.
So cute.
Why is Betsy Kettleman so freaking hot?
I don't get it. I have to be perfectly
You're
honest.
smoking hot yourself.
I think it's Mr. Kettleman. I think Mr. Kettleman is just so happy all the time, and he's just so good with her just running everything that people are like, something must be, I don't know. I contend that it's Jeremy's performance.
I don't know.
But
It's both of you.
I will never understand it. I have no idea.
But you hear it all the time on the internet.
I
right?
do, yes. Yeah. People are very vocal about it on the internet, as they are vocal about many things on the internet.
People who like mistresses and
they
like
are
whippings
yes,
and,
they are very. There are people that would like to mix it up with Betsy.
She's decisive.
Like a woman in charge.
That's the kindest word I've ever heard to describe Betsy ever. It's very magnanimous of you, Peter.
I love that turn you make where it's like, okay, I'm listening. I love it. You are so good. You two are all three, well, the three of you, but obviously Bob is always, but you two are so, and this has been said before, but you guys, when the first time you acted together and really met was on the first episode of Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
You'd never, and it's like you fell right into it.
We got picked up from the airport together in Albuquerque. That was the first. We had friends in common.
Okay.
Because Jeremy's quite a wonderful theater actor in New York, and
as are you.
Quite famous there. But he's But we didn't actually know each other.
I remember meeting you the first time in person. One of us, the writer's room was actually in the hotel.
Yeah, it was in that
for
little
that one
conference room.
season.
Yes,
and
we had our suitcases with
somebody
us.
saw you, and we came pulling you into the writer's room to meet you because we were so excited about you guys and so excited about your characters.
I'm sure you are.
Actually, I will say the first season, as we broke the first season, before we met you guys, we were like, the Kettlemans are great, but maybe we ought to move on from the Kettlemans. And then as soon as we saw you on screen, no, we need more Kettlemans.
More Kettlemans.
And so that was why that season we had that episode 8, suddenly the Kettlemans are back.
God,
and more
that was
important than
the
ever.
luckiest turn of events in my entire life.
Oh,
It used to be a Kettleman channel. By the way,
Look at how this whole thing is shot. It's so lovely.
This was so much fun. And it was blowing. Talk about how windy it was. It was blowing like
it was a sandstorm. I can't believe that
any of this is usable.
I can't believe any was used. I thought for sure we'd have to reshoot it.
Yeah. It was a sandstorm going on.
It was intense.
Yeah. And
you couldn't keep your eyes open.
I know.
Because they would just fill up with sand, and then
Yeah.
we would just stop for a minute and blink really hard and try to get it out, and then move, and then keep going.
It's like hurt me. It was blowing to beat the band. Luckily, it wasn't cold, but it was blowing. And there was only one inflatable Statue of Liberty, and we needed it. And the wind.
And what if the wind had
Well, if the wind went above a certain, someone was standing out there with a little handheld anemometer, and if the wind had gone past a certain miles per hour, we would have had to deflate it because there was only one. These things are bespoke. They really. I'm not even kidding. This was the only one we could find. I mean, this was it. Right?
Yeah, that's right. This is the only one that exists.
Yeah.
I feel like in the room
Ariel,
we broke it as a different, a slightly different Statue of Liberty.
And he got his own somewhere.
But yeah.
Yeah, but
Ariel, that misdirect of that awful woman with the ponytail. that is such a fantastic leap. That's such a great line. It is such a fantastic leap in Betsy's mind. When I read that, I was like, yes, that is a wonderful callback to season 1. That is just beautiful writing.
That's how she sees Kim.
Yeah.
I love they have relationships with him and with Jimmy kind of separately.
Yes.
Yes. It's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, so it's a big surprise when they walk in together.
Yeah.
Was this fun? The Kettleman's fun to write for?
So much fun.
Yeah, talk about
some of my
that.
favorite characters. I mean, you guys are, to be fair, the best parts. Like, I feel like you guys, you ad-lib, and it's amazing. Calling him a crookedy crook is just one of my favorite lines.
We're 100% on script, except sometimes we lead into the scene or we lead out of the scene, you know, like once we're done.
It's the little moments.
And then Vince
so
had
fun.
asked in that little piece where Bob was walking away from us earlier.
Yeah,
You're like, fill that, go ahead. But like, we have.
Crookedy crook.
I think we went through many iterations of that little discussion.
Great.
Betsy's indignation is also the really fun to write.
I know.
Like,
That's
you're,
right.
You know, very entitled, very just like,
Completely unearned,
I'm right.
righteous indignation.
She's the original Karen.
Yeah. I know. I felt kind of, when Karen started coming out, I was kind of mortified. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, very, I'd like to speak to your manager.
You guys were like on the front end of that thing. I hope we didn't create it. But yeah.
That's funny.
Oh,
Betsy would like to speak to the manager, and she feels she is everyone's manager all at the same time. You know?
She's annoyed she had to ask.
Somebody asked me in an interview after this episode went up, they said, you know, do you think Betsy learned anything? I was like, oh, Betsy doesn't learn. She's a learner.
No.
Betsy teaches. And you should beware of that. I was like,
That's wonderful.
Everyone is out to get us.
This is the.
And we haven't done anything wrong.
She should write a self-help book.
Yeah.
She should. Oh, I would buy that self-help book.
That level of dedication to that, you know, unearned indignation.
People always ask, what is that thing he punches? That is an old TV mount.
Wow.
For years and years ago when there used to be a TV in this motel room.
Of course, this is a Denise Pizzini set.
Yes.
And also that whole motel completely.
Did she build it? Is it built?
Yes,
She
this
built
is
the interior
on the soundstage.
and the exterior is there
real.
was a motel, but it looked completely different before she and her amazing team got started on it.
Wow.
And the wonderful thing Peter was talking earlier about having two DPs who were rotating is that, as Peter said, Paul Donachie got to be in pre-production with us, and that slit window for that shot, we had this image, Paul and I had this image in our head of this beautiful light, this golden light coming in through that horizontal slit window. And it had to be small enough that he couldn't climb through it out the back later. That's a plot point. But Paul weighed in on the design of that for his light. Well, I remember we would look at different kinds of glass with different finishes, like what cuts the light best, so it's hard lines of light, and it's amazing the amount of work that goes into making anything.
I have another completely nerdy actor comment.
Yeah.
So Michael Mando in these early episodes of this season does such beautiful work with very little dialogue.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not, if you're not an actor who builds a full inner life like him, that's not the easiest thing necessarily to do.
Talk about that, because people think, and the same with writers, it's not writing unless it's dialogue, or it's not acting unless it's people talking.
Well, it's because, sometimes people say, how do you learn all those lines? And I'm like, that's the easiest thing I do, quite frankly. That's the easiest part of the job, right? So, but Michael has such inner monologue happening, like such a subtext, or I'm trying to think how you would describe that. The thoughts in his head are so clear without him saying anything.
You're right. It's like watching the ticker tape at the bottom of CNN, or what. It's like there's a story going on.
Yeah, he's got like
second.
a layered inner monologue, inner life going on in his head here, and it's really lovely. But I was also thinking how wonderfully you guys write for, like, Bob's character talks and fast, and he's got a very fast inner pace, and Kim has her own inner pace that's very different than his. But then you've got Jonathan Banks, and then you've got Michael Mando here. You've got Nacho, who has always been very quiet, who is and then makes a big move like that. I keep thinking about that scene in season 1 where he's in the interview room when Jimmy meets him the first time, and he just sits there, and then suddenly he like shakes he hits the table and shakes the chain.
Startles everybody.
Every single time. Like, I've seen that episode so many times. Every time I startle.
Yeah.
That's a great
But
point.
that's like,
awesome.
that's a beautiful mixture of writing, meeting like actors diving into.
And Michael is absolutely wonderful.
Wonderful.
He's got just glows with charisma.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Talk about this young lady, and of course this wonderful gentleman.
This is we got Ed Begley Jr. here, of course, who is maybe the nicest person I've ever met in my life.
Yes, he probably
He's
is.
the nicest, and Jessie Ennis, who is John Ennis's daughter. And I'm assuming you're listening. You're listening to this. You're listening. I'm sure you've seen the rest of the season, but John Ennis shows up later. He's the fake judge later in the season.
Yes.
He's the actor, and so we're very proud we got both generations on the show.
Jessie is quite a brilliant comedic actress. If you haven't seen her in other stuff that she works on, she's quite brilliant.
She's super talented.
I love her in Mythic Quest.
She's got a great face. There's that inner monologue you were just talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's going on right there. And even
look better. And then it leads to some behavior.
Yeah.
It's just all inner monologue from her, right? Like, yeah.
And Bob has known her since, because John Ennis was in Mr. Show. Bob has known Jessie since she was a baby.
Wow.
So it was.
But that's not why she got the job.
She
got the job on them because she's great.
Yes,
Yeah.
I got to see her on with Bob and David, the show that Bob did a few years ago, and I got to meet John Ennis. We were very excited to meet John Ennis. He introduced us to Jessie, and so that was we had the idea for being Aaron.
Unfortunately,
And Ed is like, he is he is so, talk about from an actor's point of view what he's doing, because you guys are so damn, well, I should let you talk about you here, but he is so damn funny, but he's really not doing anything funny. He's just being the straight man here because you guys are so funny.
But Ed that's what he does, right? He really understands. So part of your job as an actor, too, is to understand what your job in the story is.
Right.
And what your job in the scene is, right? Like, where do I fit here?
Right.
That's like a text analysis thing. And Ed is so good at, look, he sits back.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, he's so good at always knowing exactly where his pocket is and exactly what his job is in the scene, what he should be doing in the scene. But he's funny again. Like, his reaction to the Kettlemans is funny, just as a straight man.
Just as a straight man.
And we just saw, Jeremy not get his coffee. It's a beautiful
Poor
piece of
Craig
business
never
there,
gets his
Vince. That was beautiful.
Which was
And
something.
then Ed has the wow. He just spent the whole scene setting up the wow for himself.
Right?
Right?
This is great. I
Like,
love hearing
he's
this
like-
stuff.
Yes.
Because I don't know how you do
This
comedy.
is nerdy actor talk.
This is great, though. I don't know how you do comedy without a straight man. Because the straight man is the audience's eyes. Because the audience is normal.
Yes, it's
finger
also your
quotes.
barometer of this is. But he spent the whole scene setting up that wow.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And he also made himself look like a good lawyer.
Yes.
Because he didn't tip his hand while they
Yes.
were in there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he pushed back on them a little, but
Yeah. Beautifully done.
And then we have here the minimalistic.
And I didn't mean to
Brilliant
not talk about
Giancarlo.
how brilliant you two were in that scene. 'cause
I'm
you
much
were
more comfortable talking about
You
it.
two are so damn funny in that
Really.
scene. And poor Craig never gets a sip of coffee anywhere at any time.
I could, now that we're coming to the end, that's one of my regrets is that we don't have more Kettlemans.
I know.
Just more Kettleman scenes.
I
A
really
little
do feel like
kettle
we
goes
need
a long way. I always talk to Jeremy about, I'm always sweating it on my lines and working really hard. And he's like, oh, I'll run lines with you. But he's like, oh, I don't have that much to do. I'm like, you're going to totally steal the scene. He does it every single time. I'm like, this is how it goes for us, man. Like, I work and, we run lines and you're like, he's like, sure, I'll help you, Julianne. And and then like, he totally just stands beside Betsy and behavior totally steals the scene every time.
He is marvelous, obviously, but I don't know that that's true. I think it's like a tower that has two legs. If you don't have one of the legs, there's no tower. The whole thing falls down. You guys are so. What's the word? Synergistic. That was the big corporate word.
Right.
The additive to each other.
It's chemistry, and it's one of those things where I can't believe that we were smart enough to cast the two of you.
One of the smartest
Do
things
you
we
know
ever did.
that Jeremy and I, we didn't quite know we were still searching for our characters when we arrived in Albuquerque, and because we were both living in New York when we auditioned, we had both self-taped, and we finally showed each other our self-tapes, which is not something actors do. Like we both had a drink, which I almost never do, and showed each other our self-tapes. And then we were like, oh, right. We could see like how we fit together.
Oh, that's interesting.
That was our first like understanding of what we might do together. Yeah.
I love it.
And then these scenes are this episode has such wide tone, but it totally works.
That's one of I was saying we just did the commentary for 12. I was just saying, One of the things I'm proudest of about this show, and we took it even farther in this show than Breaking Bad, is the elasticity. Wow. You can have high drama and almost absurd comedy in the same episode, sometimes even in the same scene.
Yeah.
And it stretches to. And by the way, these three. Well, of course, Giancarlo.
Even just that hand, those two, that shot of the hands.
Yeah.
But that's also not the easiest thing to write, Ariel. Like that wide. Do you? Maybe it's not the easiest thing to trust off the page. Do you worry about that? Like,
I mean,
on this show,
not with Vince directing,
Yeah.
but honestly, never on this show. I think we have such excellent behind the camera talent and on-screen talent. We can be really subtle like this. Have the moment where Gus notices one tiny thing that we might not even see, but he sees it, and that gives him all he needs. Know that Lalo's alive,
right?
And so we can have those really subtle moments and trust that it's going to get across.
And the inflatable Statue of Liberty, all
exactly.
All in one.
We have the carrot and we have the stick.
Yes.
It's funny. Somebody asked us a question. How do you figure out the tone? And I think I think the answer, and Vince answered it best, is that we don't really think about the tone. We think about the characters and what they would do and what they want. Yeah. And then the tone. Interestingly enough, the tone can kind of take care of itself.
Yeah.
The tricky thing is if you think that the show has a tone, then it basically you're more or less saying every scene is going to feel the same way.
Oh,
and it's the contrast that makes things exciting, not the affinity.
That's well put.
But everything you guys write for the characters tracks really well. And that's not always true, speaking as an actor. Everything tracks on a deeper psychological level, too. And then all of your actors ground things, even when they're absurd. If they're grounded, then it can all live, maybe. Yeah.
That's the best. That's the best compliment.
It's so impressive.
Coming from someone as good, somebody as brilliant as you. That's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
What I love hearing about is because we think of performance as being completely in the moment, but you're also talking about all the analysis that you do and the thought you have to put into it.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, this is an iconic universe you've built here. You want to live up, and also I'm the nerd that does that no matter what I'm doing.
I love it. And how great is Javier Grajeda?
Oh,
Jav is just he's become a really good friend, and just he and his wife Lo, wonderful people. And I love I had it blocked where he was standing in here originally, and then we all realized very quickly that all the sparks were going right on him. So he's like, "Oh man, I can't stand here." And I said, "Oh yeah, well you're the boss. You come in later." So that's how you roll with that kind of thing. People, this is really interesting. I'm learning a lot, Julianne, because it's, stuff I should have known already. But
I learn a lot every time I hang out with you guys.
Well, but right back at you, because it's really, as you said, it's not about learning the lines. It's about comprehending and building the character. So it's part of it is you're creating the character.
Inner life.
Yeah. It's really.
Yeah. But you guys do that too. You've created the depth there in the writing so that it's discoverable. It's not always available. But on all projects, I guess I should say. But you've always written lots of depth and psychological. You can really track. It's great.
That makes me feel good.
And here's Michael Mando again. And has he said one line yet?
No.
He has not said a single line in this episode. And look at how. But we all understand what's going on, right? So good.
He's really good.
And good for you guys for trusting him to carry that without dialogue.
Oh, he's easy to trust. He's got so much charisma. He's just very watchable.
It's very specific.
Yeah.
This building, by the way, that is looking at, everything else was here. This old motel. This is down in Belen, New Mexico, which is about 45 minutes south of Albuquerque, down the 25 freeway. But the building he's looking at was designed by Denise Pizzini and built by Steve Brown and his crew. Steve, our construction coordinator, really. And it fits right in. You wouldn't even know it wasn't part of the landscape down there.
He had really specific needs.
They built the
for
building
this motel.
The building he's looking at.
That, the one
Yeah,
across. Wow.
yeah, they put
The
this
one with
whole
the dripping
thing
air
up.
conditioner.
Wow.
Here, you'll see it again here in a second. Yeah, and because we needed a very specific layout, a place where, the watcher, as we called him,
Yeah.
could be watching.
That's extraordinary.
This was also right, this is only our second episode, and we were still kind of getting our heads around how we're going to shoot during COVID.
Oh God!
And
yeah.
there was a lot. A lot. I mean, I think there were a lot of precautions we were taking early on that maybe we found out we didn't have to take as time went on. But it just created a lot of difficulty, a lot of barriers to getting the job done.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that if we were watching this 10 years from now. I wouldn't know that at all.
That was our goal.
That was the fervent dream
Yeah.
and hope.
I wouldn't even have considered or thought about it.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, when we started at the beginning of the pandemic, people were talking about simplifying their shows, and we can't go to as many locations or have as many actors. And we said we can't do that.
No.
It's got to be. It's got to be. Got to be the same show.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
he's
love
so
his
great.
sequence.
Oh,
Doesn't
my
he
God.
actually? Oh my goodness. He's actually like kicking it and punching it and stuff.
And this is a parkour expert, named Victor, who is, and by the way, Michael Mando wanted to do that stunt, and I'm sure he would have been capable of it, but you can't.
The insurance would have
I
said
know.
no to that, right?
But this gentleman who did the stunt for him, that was the second take. The first take, he's lithe, is that how you say the word? Lithe, lithe as a cat. He lands, doesn't even flex his knees practically, and runs off. This guy is amazing.
I was just going to ask, did you ask him to limp? Well,
and,
was that
and,
built
and so
in?
take two. He said,
Right.
how was that? I said, I hate to ask you to do it again. He said, I could do this all day. I said, can you make it look less superhuman? So he goes limping off, and then I say, cut. I said, oh shit, he hurt himself. And I said, you okay? He says, yeah, no, I just did what you asked me to. He was like, this guy is like a genius, a physical genius.
I tripped putting on my shoes this morning. So
Okay, I would just like to say that that upside down shot in the water just now, into the boot was, did you do that on purpose? That's insane.
Well, good. I'm
That was
glad you like
amazing.
it. Oh, never, even
Were
a
you
blind,
like, we
even
should have a puddle of water here so
Yeah.
we can shoot a
Yeah,
reflection?
even a blind pig
Yeah.
finds a truffle.
And this is a set too. This is back
Yeah, so
in
you
the
had to
studio.
bring it in. It's not like it just
Yes.
was there, right? You had to
And
somebody brought in water and pooled it.
And I love this guy, Manny
Manny.
Martinez Hernandez.
Manny is so good.
yeah.
He's like he's got this Steve Buscemi vibe, doesn't he?
Yes. Steve
Yes,
Buscemi meets
he
like Javier
does.
Bardem.
Yeah, it meets
Yes.
Steve Buscemi meets what you just said, Javier Bardem.
Yes.
He is so good.
He's
He
going to
definitely
enjoy
doesn't look
hearing
like,
that.
He does not look like a pushover.
He does not, and he's not, and this is another. Well, I'm thinking again about what you said, Julianne. This guy has an inner life. There's stuff going on here in between the dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another Denise Pizzini set.
Yes.
What is so
she had to
Sharon
do a
Bialy,
lot.
one of your casting directors? She says sometimes, she'll say she said to me once. She goes, "I love to watch you listen." Like that's the thing, right? Like when you're watching actors, how do they listen? Not just how do they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you spot the reverse of this? The flip side of this, how do we all know bad acting when we see it. We don't have to be an actor to know bad acting. So what are we registering?
My mama says, "I just don't believe him when he talks."
Okay.
That's how my mom puts it. I'm like, okay, well, that's not industry speak, but that's fair. It's,
Yeah. Is it you can part of it is an awareness of the camera, a painful awareness of the camera, which is even if you're not looking, if you're a bad actor, even if you're not looking at the camera, you can tell sometimes when someone's aware of the camera.
I think most of the time the camera doesn't like presentational.
Okay.
It likes inner life.
Okay. All right.
So like it likes what's happening behind your eyes, right?
Yeah.
It likes what gets you from one line to the next. It
Right.
likes why that's happening. So like I don't know. Well, if you're talking about an audition just sits on the actor the whole time. It doesn't cut back and forth. So watch the actor listen. What are they doing when they're not when they don't have lines?
Or are they just waiting for
Are they
their turn
waiting
to
for their
talk?
cue?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
have they created the room for themselves?
Right.
Have they created the business? Have they created some atmosphere for themselves?
right.
Are they thinking?
Yeah.
Are they reacting to what's being said? Are they listening? Yeah.
Julianne, you should teach this stuff. Do you?
You do.
Don't.
should.
I used to do a class in New York, a workshop in New York about transitioning from theater to film.
Oh, that's fascinating.
But I'm just a dork.
No, this people. Listen, anyone who's
I'm just
listening to an
enduring
audio
about it.
commentary is a dork.
That's
too.
true.
in the best possible
Up
way.
with the dorks.
You're all dorks.
Unless there's some weirdo, this is the only first time they've ever seen the episode with the audio commentary on. That would be
It's a choice.
That'd be
that
sad.
would be a strange
That would
choice.
be a super specific choice at this point.
This is quite a sequence we've got coming up here.
This the one that really almost broke me was episode 8 in season 5 out in the desert with that shootout. This one was a close second. This one was tough, but it was we had the best crew ever and the best people in front of
Almost
them.
broke you because physically it was just hard.
Well, to be fair, it wasn't. It was hot, but it wasn't physically that hard. But all the little pieces that needed to be shot.
Yeah.
And you can't drop the ball ever, and you gotta understand the geography with action scenes. We've all seen action movies where it's just a lot of close-ups and the camera's shaking. You don't know where the hell anybody is.
You can't track the fight.
Can't
I
track
like
the
I
fight,
want to
yeah.
know the story of the fight.
Oh yeah. And this, to me, when I do these kind of scenes, the Paramount thing.
Look at him. Look at what's going on for him right now.
Oh yeah, no, he is so into the moment. Because I trust the actors. We hire only the best, so I know I got that covered. I don't have to worry about that. But geography is like one of the biggest things. You got to understand where everybody is, especially because they're running. All these guys are running all over the place.
And Albuquerque's no joke. Like the weather there is no joke.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's the truth.
The wind, the heat, it gets cold at some point. Like
Yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
I'm sure it was hard. I feel like it was hard to break this scene. With so many moving parts,
Oh, yeah.
not knowing the full geography.
Oh yeah.
It made it really hard on our, location
Yeah.
and on our crew to find exactly what we needed because we'd broken this scene, and then for us to kind of adapt
Yeah.
to what they were able to.
Because I think
Right.
originally in the room we were picturing a motel and a street.
Yeah.
There was a whole street lined with with a sidewalk and shops and stuff.
Yeah.
And we had to we part of the problem was limiting where you could go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Vince saw this location, and that's you were able to tailor what we had, what we get the same results, but you had to figure out how to make it all work.
That's something people don't think about much. Like when you write it, you're imagining the space, and then you get your locations, and then there's a reimagining by the director, a reimagining by the writer, a rewriting
Yeah.
to match what is available, what's there, to make it,
Yeah. No, it's true. Takes a village.
I mean, the thing I feel about action scenes is the more stunts and the more exciting it looks on screen, the slower and less exciting it is to actually shoot.
That's 150% true.
Every time someone pulls a trigger on a gun, there's a lot.
It's all pieces.
Lot of pieces, a lot of safety, a lot of rehearsal.
How great are the Mancadas here? How great are these two?
Wonderful.
I'm gonna say this too. It's such a revelation to see Nacho actually afraid.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That shot, by the way, going through the windshield, that was another Paul Donahue special. Paul talked about that weeks before we shot it. And,
How did you do that?
it is a tiny little remote head on a tiny little piece of motorized track. We had a windshield. I don't know how you cut a windshield, by the way, but they cut a windshield in half because windshield's tempered glass. You can't cut tempered glass. I don't even know how they did it. But Paul figured it out. He was out there with his measuring tape, and he and and Charlie and all the grips were out there figuring it out. And
I don't want to spoil or anything, but there's a shot in a later episode with Kim in a car that I'm like, how did they get that shot? Like, I really need to understand how
Which
it
one?
happened. It's in the car, and she's the camera goes from here to here
It's
to
your
back
episode.
to here
You-
to back here.
This is you and Paul.
And I'm like,
episode
did
8.
they take the? Okay, even if they took the seat out, I was like, I don't understand
It's
how
this
that just
tiny
happened.
little remote head.
Wow.
I tell you, there's equipment now. It's like we're living in Star Trek times. It's amazing.
I don't think I described that very well.
No, you did. You
No,
described
because
it
I just
great.
realized this is audio, and I was totally using my hands to describe what was
No,
happening.
episode 8.
But I'm
Watch episode 8, you'll see
The
it.
actress or actor Ray is literally driving the car, and meanwhile the camera is being operated remotely by. It's amazing.
It's
technology.
it's incredible. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you like that.
I'm so glad you were able to get the Time Machine book into this shot.
Oh, you're good. I'm glad you like it. This now with all the little teeny pieces we did in the last scene. Now I have as much fun doing a scene like this where we hang in this wonder as long as we humanly can, and because you got these wonderful actors that you trust, and they're going to perform for you even if you're going to read what's on their brains, on their minds, even if they're small in the background, small-ish. I
Well,
love
there's
the way
never
they
a
play this.
wasted moment, right?
Yeah. I love these two. They're so much fun watching them do their thing together. Talk about writing for them, Ariel. Yeah.
I mean, I love writing for Jimmy and Kim. They're so, and especially this part of the season when they're getting going, they're having fun. It's so fun to see them work together and they go up against so much, but to see them working together and working together well is just a blast. I did not have the pleasure of writing this scene. This was a Tom Schnauz special, and it is so much fun.
But the flip of them too, like our assumptions were always that Jimmy was pushing her, and the flip, especially, it really hits in the beginning of this season, like as to who is the aggressor here, the more aggressive maybe. Yeah,
No,
it's
they're
really
both very
nice.
good partners in this. They are, Kim's no victim.
But Ariel, it is safe to say that you wrote all the good scenes in this episode, and Tom wrote all the bad ones, except for that
Correct.
one.
Viewers, anything you don't like was Tom's.
That was all Tom.
Yep.
How do you guys work together? How do you break it up when you're working together?
We break it up by acts.
Okay, all right.
And although they didn't, I think our act breaks change a little bit from the script to the screen. But in the script, it was Tom did the teaser, and then 3 and 4, and I did 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Still not picking up his cell, so
Speaking of acting, look at this little tell Gus gives here. This was Giancarlo's idea. I love this little thing he does. It's just that little, he's as still, he's as inert as possible, but he does it a couple more times here. And it's just this little, it's just this inner turmoil. When he's at his most turbulent, he moves the least, but could we have a little tell? And he came
You
up
could
with
only
that.
do that on a character that's minimalist.
Yeah.
That's that minimalist, right? You could only
Yeah.
it's so smart.
Giancarlo couldn't be more different from Gustavo Fring. It's just it's still startling to sometimes see him switch into that character because he's such an expressive, artistic, open-hearted guy, and then to see him turn cold. But he must be losing it. What?
Oh, he must be losing it. I know. Something like that, making something like that look not, you gotta, there's so much to acting.
Well, that's also some of it's how it's shot. Some of it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can, work it out,
but the idea of making it look like it was an accident, and obviously,
well, it's also such a big deal for his character to break a glass. And that's such behavior that's been set in from the beginning with him, from Breaking Bad, even right? Like that's.
One of my favorite things he's ever done is coming up here where he puts the broken glass in the trash can, and then he pulls out just the idea of having an old-fashioned handkerchief.
Yeah.
I love that. He's so from a different time. He's
who was the handkerchief? Was that Jim Bryan? Was that who decided he's a handkerchief guy?
I don't remember. But I tell you, I love he's so delicate. It's just he's got such grace.
And this is the type of guy who very carefully hangs up his jacket and his tie and puts on his plastic coverall and then slits Victor's throat. He's very he needs to keep his clothes clean and proper.
Now here is something, and God, I love Ray, who plays Tyrus, and obviously, I mean, and of course, Jonathan. I'm always making fun of Jonathan, but as we talked about earlier, Jonathan, just a pleasure watching him work and a pleasure directing him. And Ray is such a sweet guy in real life who plays Tyrus, and he plays such a badass. But here is a physical truth about acting. I've done so many scenes now where someone is holding a gun at arm's length. I did it in El Camino, and I did it in here, and you know how hard it is to hold a gun at arm's length?
Heavy. It's much heavier than you think it is.
It's the toughest guys. These are all athletic, tough guys. You know, after about a half hour, their arm is moving around like this.
Shoot the coverage first, Vince.
Well, yeah, and you know what we do? We figured out we put a C stand just under the frame and to hold their arm up, because a gun weighs what? This pistol weighs, I don't know, 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. But if you're holding it out at arm's length for like 2 hours straight, you just, you want to cry. It's like, we had it in El Camino, we had it here, and we had it.
That's so interesting.
And that gun is purposely in every shot here, so it's not like you get a break. Yeah.
And that wasn't just to torture Ray. It was because it's it's the danger.
And look, Mike is unbothered by the gun.
Yeah.
I do like, though, that we're establishing a little bit some animosity between Mike and Tyrus. It sort of helps explain a little bit why Tyrus isn't super around, the beginning of Breaking Bad, and then he shows up, later and takes more of a role after Victor goes away.
That's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a real good point.
It goes away. Dies.
Kind of makes him look like he wants Mike's gig.
Yeah. Well, he had it before.
Yeah.
Mike's the interloper.
Yeah, he's not necessarily so happy with okay, this little woman was the sweetest woman.
How could you rip her off?
She
Eliza Valdez
was so adorable and so sweet.
She is very sweet. And I love this car she drives. It's an old, what is this thing? It's an old, it's with the Corinthian leather. What was the...
Cordova.
It's an old Cordoba, yeah.
We mentioned Dennis Milliken earlier. My experience before working with Dennis was
Cordova.
that if you got an old picture car, it might look good, but it would never run.
Yeah.
On the day, it would never run. It would never start.
Oh, yeah.
And Dennis's cars always work.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, mostly. Oh, God. Look at that. Look at Jen Bryant.
Yeah,
what a genius.
I was just going to say, shout out to Jen
Foxes
Bryant,
and
because
mushrooms.
that dress has foxes on it, you
Foxes and
guys.
mushrooms.
And mushrooms. She literally found a wilderness dress for Betsy.
Brilliant.
I love it.
I have no idea where she found it. How did she do that?
I don't know.
I also love that you whisper hell.
By the way, that was the first time Betsy ever cursed.
That's right. That's right.
That was the first kettle
That's
curse.
right. You know something? And I remember this. Did we have a conversation where I said, do you think she'd say H-E double hockey sticks or something? I think. I have it in my head. Or I was going to say that. Maybe we didn't have this conversation. Maybe I just had it in my head. But then you did it. But the way you did it, it was like, no, she needs to.
I totally would have gone for H-E double hockey sticks, too. That would have been hilarious.
But you know what?
But she's mad.
This is better. The way you did it is better because.
And this was the first time we learned Betsy was also, either that's a fake certificate or Betsy is also an accountant.
Oh no, I think that I assume they were. Well, I assume they were real.
Yeah, I think we assumed that they, she went and she took a course.
Right.
Yeah.
She had some time on her hands.
Sure.
Especially while Craig was away.
Yeah.
I don't know that's an interesting thought. I don't know that she would make a fake certificate. I think she'd take a bullshit course and then
She'd take a bullshit course,
Yeah.
or she would do what she needed to do to pass the course.
Yeah, right.
Without feeling bad about it at all.
Yeah, but faking, counterfeiting the thing, that would be.
I don't know
that
if
would
she'd
be
have
wrong.
to. She's smart. You
Yeah,
know
she
what I mean?
is. She is.
I mean,
smart.
she lives in her own universe for sure, but she's.
But let's talk about how this is the most dramatic. This is so beautifully. Talk about it goes from funny to dramatic. The way it kind of breaks everybody's heart. The way you play this, it's just talk about that.
Can you be broken for Betsy? But that's all. Yeah. It's all there. Ariel, this scene was so beautifully written.
Beautiful.
It just holds everything. It's
so good.
I mean, it's beautifully acted, directed, everything. I love the way your voice breaks perfectly. We lost everything. We want our lives back. Like, I do feel for Betsy, even after we've just seen her rip off, two of the most earnest, innocent-looking people we've ever seen.
Do you want to know what a dumbass I am? I wanted to cut the line, dial 9 to get out. Because I thought that doesn't make any sense. It's and then like I was so literal about it. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's like, of course, that's the brilliance of it.
But that's the brilliance of Mr. Kettleman. Jen Hutchison said once in one of the podcasts or something. I think she said she almost cut the coffee line, or the line in season 1 is it episode 7 where Craig wants coffee. She's like, I almost cut something there because I thought, oh, that'll never play, but then it did. Yeah, but that's him. That's Jeremy.
I think one of my favorite Craig moments, I think, is the beginning of the scene when you're telling Jimmy everything, and then Craig goes, "Yeah, and we're mad."
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. I go on a big long rant, and he goes, "Yeah, and we're mad." He just steals it. It's so brilliant, and I'm not mad at it. I think it's brilliant.
But you can't knock it down before it's been set up. So yeah, I mean,
so good.
If it was just him without you, again, you guys are like the peanut butter and the chocolate that coming together to make the Reese's cup.
You'll probably get 24 months. Maybe 18 with good behavior.
Just love Ray's work so much.
I love the little bit. I love how this is like one of the first times we've seen her in like warmer colors. Right?
Oh yeah.
I think we've been very careful to kind of keep her in like cooler tones, blues, greens, and she's in.
When she showed up on the
here.
set in this pantsuit, when she showed up, and then the two of them were getting out of the car. It reminded me of the old days on X-Files. It made me think of Mulder and Scully.
Ah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and something about her. She made me think of Scully.
Julianne, maybe someone's asked you this before, but Betsy usually doesn't turn her head. She turns her whole body.
She does turn her whole body.
What?
Yeah, what's
how did
that
you come
about?
up with that?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure. It's just she never felt right until that physicality was there.
What's this rigidity of personality, and you bring it through with the.
I think there's a rigidity of personality. I also think she believes in facing things head on.
Okay.
Yeah.
She is right all the time, and she faces, she puts she speaks her own world and faces things head on. But I don't know, I'm not positive exactly where that came from. That was not like well crafted intellectually on my part. It just is something that it was just something that happened.
It's
brilliant.
Just.
I think she's also hyper aware of how people see her, or how she looks, or how she is coming off.
Right.
And that's kind of stiffness just felt right.
She feels very proper physically. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant. Yeah, and actually, I really feel sorry for her here. I know I shouldn't.
You're getting the tear there too.
I know.
Look
It's
at
so
that.
beautifully played. Look at that.
Yes.
It's so beautifully played.
Well.
What a gift you and Jeremy gave all the fans and us and the show.
You guys are so nice.
More.
What a gift you gave us. You should have seen our little text chain when we found out we were coming back for season 6. We were so excited.
You guys are so damn
Thank
good.
God you came back. Thank God you were available.
This drive off here, I think he's a good driver. Bob is, and he really scared Ray. I think I said go for it, and fuck if he didn't. He just watch this drive off.
It's just it's great how you hold it in one shot too.
Love being able to. I love being able to.
Like even being able to write that line, wolves and sheep, and have it play. So it's so smart, but it also plays inside the realism of everything. And
That's
wow.
Yeah, of course that's a callback to Tom's scene about his childhood.
yeah. And this is Arthur, one of Mike's guys, who's obviously we don't know yet, but I think everyone listening to this knows what's going on.
Let's hope they do.
God, it was such a pleasure seeing having you guys back.
It was such a pleasure for us to be back. It's such a beautiful cast and crew to work with. Everybody's working at such a high level, and there's a lot of generosity of spirit there, and I will value that experience all of my life.
Right back at you. Great script, Ariel. Great job.
Yes.
Great editing by the wonderful Skip McDonald.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just, I was lucky to be there.
I think the Kettlemans are going to land on their feet.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having me, guys.